It is time for the much requested mod list of BOklahoma. Yes, I do mod my game, and I'm going to walk you through what mods I use to enhance what I think is one of the greatest games ever made, dear Bannerlord. Every game has its problems, and Bannerlord's no exception. This is where you come in with those mods, add either some complexity or you smooth out the rough edges. The two things that I really like to do with my mods, and something I make sure of, is that I really like to stick to the vanilla experience as close as possible. I'm not opposed to overhaul mods, but especially when I'm doing my YouTube content, I like for it to be as close as vanilla as possible. That way, those who don't have access to mods don't feel left out. The other part of it is that I really try to use mods that help me keep a smooth pace to my Bannerlord campaigns. If you've played Bannerlord for thousands of hours like I have, then you'll know that getting bogged down in a campaign can make you quit it. There's a flow to your narrative that you're trying to keep going, the story you're trying to play out. And I try to exemplify that in my content. Without further ado, then, let's get into my mod list. I get all my mods from the Nexus mod page, and you can see right here that I'm a premium subscriber, one of the best decisions I ever made. Also use this to mod my Skyrim. Oh my God, Skyrim modding was an addiction. I got over it, but it was a dark, dark time for me. I think I spent more time modding Skyrim than playing it, or at least it was equal. But I had a really good time, and I learned a lot about how to mod and manipulate mods, so I'm thankful for that education. The first mods I'm going to mention are the nerdy mods. They make modding possible. These are the nerds that form the bedrock of the modding community, and I want them to get their props. So here we have Aragus with this Harmony mod. ButterLib here by the same stud. And you can just scroll through here and just see all the mods that require these foundational mods. The truth is, these are the sexiest mods out because they allow more mods to be created and function better. And it's just fantastic that these mods are here, that they're regularly updated, and what they do for the community is just outstanding. And then I throw on UI Extender X. And then finally, mod configuration menu. So Harmony, ButterLib, UI Extender X, and the mod configuration menu. These are the bedrock to being able to put other great mods into my game. And my official position is that all modders go to heaven. The combination of Bannerlord, mods, and your own personal imagination can give you some of the most amazing gaming experiences in your life. But let's not forget that the mods are a staple of that. And thank you so much, Aragus and the Harmony ButterLib team. Outstanding work, and we just so appreciate your contributions to the community. Now, on to the gameplay mods that I put in to enhance my gameplay. First one up, diplomacy. What I really like about diplomacy, you can see the list of features here. Most importantly, what I like about diplomacy is that it adds impacts to war. And when you look at the options for this mod, first what strikes you is that it's amazing because you can enable and disable any of the things you like or don't like. But right here, you get diplomatic actions and war reparations. So losing a war actually matters. One of my problems with Bannerlord is that the world is very static and that nothing really seems to happen. Factions will lose a city here or there. Britannia pretty routinely gets rolled, but you have to play very late into the game to see any real changes in the map. And even then, they're kind of limited. At the end, I'll talk about what I wish in mods and things that I wish they would change about Bannerlord, but let's stay on the mods for now. So you come in here and you add this scaling gold cost. Factions that lose wars get hurt economically. And so these scaling gold costs help create some more economic damage to the losing side, and it helps the winning side get a little more momentum. And very often when I run this mod, I get a little bit better interactions in the world. The world feels a little more dangerous, and some factions kind of get on a steamroll a little easier. It's not perfect, but it works. You can even adjust these scales, and I haven't really played with these. I might do that for a video one time, really crank this up and see what happens. So we'll see. Here, influence. This is another thing that just needs to be in the game. If you don't know, the longer you play, you're just swimming in influence. And so this makes it scale. It's one of those things in currencies that just doesn't work in the vanilla game. And so this tries to address that. And this is the most, now it's not super well fleshed out in this mod, and you really can't even do it. But the game needs this so bad. It needs civil wars. It needs a way to break apart from a faction by being within a faction, rather than the only way to start your own kingdom now, to take over territory within the kingdom you start with. So if you start with Sturgia or the Khanate, you take over towns, but you really can't take over Khanate towns unless they get conquered and you retake them. It's just very difficult to create a narrative where you take over a faction from within. And given the amount of civil wars and how many empires fall apart to civil war, it's just a tragedy that it's not more available. They try to address that in here. This feature isn't real well fleshed out. I don't really even understand how it completely works. It'll start a faction, and if the faction reaches a certain number, there will be a civil war, but it's really hard to get that number because you can't really recruit lords to it. So I think it's something they're still working on, and I'm glad to hear it, because this game needs civil war and internal strife. And then there's expansionism here, and this explains to you what each thing does. Here's that influence balancing I was talking about. Here's a big one right here for me. Allow player to claim player taken settlements. In the game right now, you spend all your money to build up a war band, then you spend all your influence to build up an army. You take both of those and you go take a fief, and then it gets handed to someone else. People say, well, that could happen, and that's true, but there really isn't any consequence to the leader faction for doing that. It just fucks you over. It completely screws the narrative of your game and the flow of your game. And then you have to, give fiefs away or other game manipulations to try to guarantee that you can get the fief. And even then you can get screwed out of it, which I would be completely fine with if there were consequences. So if the factions that liked you and thought you should have gotten it were upset that the king screwed a noble out of his fief and there was some consequences to the leader faction for that, I would be okay with it. But as it is right now, the AI just screws you, and it can really add just hours to your gameplay instead of just taking it and moving on with the story and being able to build up your little mini kingdom until you're ready to split. You sit there and you just have to work all these tricks and all this stuff to hope the AI doesn't completely screw you. And then if it does screw you, it doesn't face any consequences. It just sucks. And so that's one of my least favorite things about Bannerlord right now, lack of civil strife. So here, if you put all the effort into taking a fief, you get the right to claim it, right as a conqueror to claim it. I would like it more if only certain factions like maybe Sturgia or Britannia or the Khanate could take a settlement that they conquered, like the right of the conqueror thing. You could even make it a kingdom policy that you need to get passed. But as it stands right now, the AI is just too wonky. There isn't really any consequence for it screwing you, and it can really just set your gameplay back hours and create like this weird grind. So as of right now, I really like to just be able to take the fiefs I want and begin to build that narrative and that playthrough that I like to build. If you like the concept of keeping the fief you conquered, but you don't want all the changes that come with diplomacy, you don't really want to deal with all that complexity, you're fine with how things work in vanilla, but you would like to be able to keep your own fief, here's another option for you that I run often when diplomacy hasn't been updated or I'm trying to go for a more vanilla playthrough. This will keep all the vanilla stuff, but when you take a fief, it will run a script and ask you, hey, do you want to keep it? And then if you do, you have to pay extra influence. As it is, I think it's like 100 influence, But hell, you could make it 500 if you want. Whatever you feel like's fair to be able to spend the influence to keep the fief that you want. And that's kind of great because then you can farm up the influence you're going to need, capture your fief, keep it, and keep the story rolling. Again, it's an awesome idea to get screwed out of a fief until you realize that the AI doesn't really impact them. So if it impacted them, it would be an awesome thing. And then you could build up like the civil strife and you could go to the other lords and be like, look, he screwed me and he'll screw you. And it counted against the leader as maybe this corruption currency or civil war currency that you could spend to start a rebellion. If he screwed you enough, it would be awesome. I'd be all for it. But as it is right now, you just get fucked and it adds hours onto your gameplay for really no reason. Diplomacy and or keep own fief both address the whole awkward fief problem, and whichever one you prefer. The other great part of diplomacy right here, and you can either enable it or disable it, is just the war exhaustion. We all know how awkward it is when the enemy has taken tens of thousands of casualties, their villages are raided, they lost 2 or 3 fiefs, they're getting absolutely crushed, and then they'll come to you with a peace offer where you have to pay them. And it's just so awkward. Well, this adds kind of a scoring system and you can manipulate. So each casualty, each caravan, imprisoned hero, raid, siege, and you can adjust these numbers to what you think they ought to be. So if you want to make casualties count for more, you can, or less, whatever you think that ought to be. And then there's just a natural increase in what's called war exhaustion. And then when a war kicks off, you'll see at the top of your campaign map a widget and it'll show you the score. And basically the first faction to 100 war exhaustion loses the war. And so you got to get on to attacking them and hurting them so that they get to 100 war exhaustion and then they sue for peace guaranteed. I haven't really tweaked these numbers and stuff, and you could come in here and really tweak it up. It seems a little scripted at times, but the AI is just wonky. I mean, it just completely ruins the experience when they don't even act with any type of reason. Well, this makes them act a little more reasonably. You've taken a ton of casualties, your villages are raided, you lost a fief, you lost, dude. And then remember, if you're defeated, there's war reparations and scaling war reparations. And so they really both pay for losing the war and then as they try to rebuild their kingdom. So it can kind of be the snowball effect where they really get clipped for losing the war. And it both encourages you to fight in wars and really help your faction out so that you guys don't get steamrolled. And it also creates some impact of the wars where I feel like in vanilla, you just fight, and it doesn't really matter. Love diplomacy. I love what it adds to the game. It's not perfect, but the more I play without it, the more I come back to it. This mod just addresses a host of what I think are baseline problems to the game. And if they can ever get this Civil War thing up and running and really hash it out, I think it'll just be superb. I think we can all agree, if you've played Bannerlord long enough, that the politics are a real weakness, especially the internal faction politics are almost non-existent. I mean, you can get rep with people and it can help a little bit in a few algorithms, but overwhelmingly, it doesn't feel like there's any type of dynamic interaction between you and the other factions and how that plays out in fief capture and battles and just all that stuff. So diplomacy for me is just a beautiful mod. If you're not wanting all this complexity but you still like the idea of keeping your fief, which I think you should absolutely do, go back to that keep fief mod. It's a simpler version that's going to allow you to keep that nice, smooth campaign flowing and just let you skip out on all the dumb AI bullshit. Governors handle issues, one of my favorite mods of all time. So let's go over to one of my towns here and I'll show you how this works. So you'll know that when you have a town, they have quests. And not only does the town have quests, but the villages have quests as well. And it's fun running around and doing the quest in the early game because it gives you gold and experience and so on and so forth. However, as the game goes on and you've got to fight 80 different smaller armies and collect lords and just go on and keeping up with doing those quests over and over and over again. And further, if you own multiple cities, keeping up with doing all the quests is a nightmare. On top of running a war and defending from raiding and going to take and do sieges, it's just too much. However, if you don't get those quests done, it will actually hurt your town. And I think it's in prosperity. It's in some way, maybe security, I don't know. But you'll see a debuff that says unresolved issues. So if you don't take care of those problems, you'll actually suffer and your fief will suffer for that. Well, that's the whole point of a governor, right? Is to put in someone who can handle the day-to-day shit at the city and take care of it. So in comes governor handles issues, and now your governors can use the garrison troops to go handle those quests and resolve those quests for you and get them done. And here you can give them the option whether they can fail or not, whether troops can be killed when they go out on mission with the governor. Here the governors gain XP, and they gain XP at such a faster rate than in vanilla, which it always drives me nuts. Here's someone running this whole region of the map and they're not hardly gaining any skills at all. So here they gain XP. The troops gain XP from the missions, which makes sense. Here's a big one. You can get the money from them completing the job, which I kind of like, right? It's like the merchants kind of tip the governor, give him a little money. He kicks a little up to you for getting the job done. This just is going to knock out all those blue question marks to make sure your fief doesn't get punished. Also, if we're going to be completely honest here, when we talk about using companions, one of the most frustrating things to me is that caravans suck right now. I've used them over and over. And yes, if you get someone with high scouting and trade, they can work, but it's not long before they get captured and you got to keep spitting them out and it keeps costing money. Sometimes they work pretty well, but overwhelmingly, they're pretty disappointing in my opinion. Well, you take that same person with high trade, high steward, high engineering or whatever, and make them a governor. And now they're making you money by getting these quests done and they're keeping your fief prosperity going up. Also, in the vanilla game, putting in someone as a governor other than for loyalty reasons doesn't really pay off. It doesn't feel good. You still have to do everything. Well, what's the point of having a governor? So here comes governors handle issues. It gives you a great way to use a companion. They gain skills and experience. You can also, if there's certain missions that you like, so like Caravan Ambush, you can take care of it. That's great. My other favorite thing about this mod, look here, destroy hideouts upon successfully completing the remove hideouts button. So if that quest comes up that there's a hideout somewhere, it'll take care of that quest and it'll get rid of that hideout. And if you make it so that the AI clans can do that, they're allowed to clear out their hideouts too. As of right now, bandit camps can spawn right next to a city and the AI can't do shit about it. And that sucks. It's not fair for their whole lands to get torched while yours are clean because the AI really can't interact with bandit camps. So now, if the bandit camp procs close enough to a town or village to make that bandit camp near wherever quests pop up, the AI can clear it and clear the bandit camp, which I think is wonderful. The bandit camps that are too far away or way up in the mountains or in the forest or whatever, those ones are safe from this, but this will clear up the ones right outside of towns and stuff, especially for the AI, which again has no way to do it outside of this. So I love that this gives the AI some way to handle bandit camps. It gives you a great way to use your companions. And again, if you think anything's overpowered or something, then you can just turn that off. I absolutely love this mod. It's one of my favorite in the games. It just feels so good to assign a governor, watch them level up, and it does exactly what assigning a governor should do. If someone comes to raid and attack my town, that's on me. I'm the Khan. But I shouldn't have to go get tools for a village once I have a 400-man army and I'm ruler of a region. I want to point out a problem you can have, a glitch. This is for patch 1.2.9. So if you're watching this video post that patch, or they've added a patch in, maybe they've addressed it. I think they know about it and they plan to, but they haven't fixed it as of the filming of this video. You assign a companion to a caravan. They run a caravan and then you bring them back into your party after they get captured and you want to assign them as a governor, but they won't show up. They're just stuck. You can't really use them. What you do then is just come into your Leave Members tab and then just put them in the settlement. They'll be in the tavern area. Leave them there for a few days. Come back, take the hero to your party, and then you'll be allowed to add them as governor. So there's this glitch where if they run a caravan, sometimes they kind of fall out of, they go into this weird space where you can't use them. Put them in the town, leave them for a little bit, and then take them back to your party, and you'll be able to. That's how you can get around that glitch. That's what's been working for me. You'll see here that AI clan governors handling the issues in town won't kick in until you own a settlement. So if you just love to run around and do quests in other towns, you can turn this off, but you can turn it on and just be confident that in the early game, when you need those quests to help you level up and make money, this AI handling its own issues and the bandit camps and stuff doesn't kick in until you own a fief. And at that point, then you're kind of moved on in the game and you don't really need to run around and do quests as much. But you can always disable it if you want to. Fantastic mod. Can't say enough about it. Love it, love it, love it. Speaking of bandit hideouts, this mod is an essential for me. I almost will not play a patch until this mod gets updated. Kutilla here, if I ever find this guy in a food court or something, I'm going to tackle him and just make love to him right there. Get the hell out of my way. This mod is just a miracle. When I talk about smoothing out a playthrough and not just having to do this same repetitive shit over and over. I mean, there's so much repetitive shit you already have to do that it can just get overwhelming if you don't have a little help. So we all know the deal with hideouts, right? You start the game and they're wonderful. You try to find all the quests so that you can make all the money and you clear them out. You get a ton of loot and it's just awesome. But as the game goes on, these things just keep popping up and it takes a little bit to clear one. When you think about clearing hideout after hideout after hideout after hideout, it just gets to be insane. I really wish they'd address this in the game where hideouts were only created in high crime areas. So as bandits spawn and more spawned, a hideout would be built. And I wouldn't even mind if they made them even the hideout like a fort or something, but made it more rare. I think that would be better. But as it is right now, these things just spawn over and over all game. And if you have to go in there and manually clear it every time one pops up in your territory, to me, oh my God, the amount of time I spend, especially as a content creator, if I had to clear every hideout, it would just be, I wouldn't even enjoy it. It would not even be fun. It would be interesting if you could make it a little harder to find them, maybe. I don't know. There's just a ton of tweaks that could be done with hideouts that would make them more fun and less tedious. But as they're implemented now, they are just the definition of tedious. But here comes Hideout Plus to save the day and relieve you from all that tedium. So right away, it allows you to attack bandit camps during the day. Yes, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to. It maybe would be better if it added more troops to the hideout during the day, like there was an advantage to attacking at night. But as it is right now, having to wait there until I can get it done, I just need to knock it out. Here you can auto-resolve it. Beautiful feature. You can auto-resolve it if your main character's wounded. You know how you can't do them if your guy's wounded? Well, now you get in a big battle, your guy's wounded, but your scouts say, hey, we found a bandit camp. Well, that's what you got that big army for. Send them in there to knock it out. Here you can increase how many troops you can take into a bandit camp, minimum troop count in a hideout. And here's another way to add some protection both for you and the AI against just rampant bandits everywhere, is you can allow for AI parties can protect settlements. So if there's a bandit camp near a settlement, and you can change that distance, which parties will attack hideouts, parties can find hideouts. This mod just adds a ton of management and reduces a ton of monotony. Hideouts, as they're implemented in the game right now, are the definition of monotonous and tedious gameplay. And this mod, you can come up, you can attack them, you can just send your troops. There you go. You lost one guy, 3 got wounded. You grab your bandits in here. If you're a person that likes to recruit these, you can. Get your loot, and then the bandit party's out. And it allows you to make your parties and AI parties be able to take care of these problems. Because if you don't, they just get completely out of hand. And there's really no rhyme or reason to bandit camps. They just keep spawning throughout the game. Like I said, this mod is a must for me. I have to have it. I won't play the game or create a video if I don't have this mod installed, because it takes so much time out of the game where I can be doing what I want to do, go fighting big battles or taking fiefs or managing my kingdom. So unless you just cannot get enough hideouts, I cannot recommend Hideout Plus enough. It is fantastic. And of course, it wouldn't be a mod list without a mod from Caravan. If you don't know who Caravan is, he just makes a list of these great mods. Oh, look at this one. Governors handle issues. Remember that? So he's just an outstanding modder. Insane how good his mods are. Here he comes in with another one. Party AI controls. If you're looking for that thematic playthrough, this is for you. You come into the game, you hit Control P, and it's going to bring up your armies. And see here how each of my party armies, I can guarantee that they're all horse archers. So if you want to do an all horse archer theme, an all Fian theme, an all Valandian knight theme, whatever you're looking to do, you want to play that Rodok playthrough and do crossbows and infantry, you can do it. You just come in here and you create a template. Say I want to do a Rodok template, right? And I hit next. And I come down here to the Valandian crossbowmen. I want sharpshooters and sergeants. That's it. Maybe some pikemen too, right? And then I hit done. Then I come into my party tab. And then here, right now, he's set on the field army, which for this means 100% horse archers in this playthrough. But let's say I want to change this to Rodok, right? So I'm going to set the template to Rodok. And then I'm going to come down here to composition, and instead of being horse archers or cavalry, we're going to go 50-50 infantry crossbows. And then I hit save, and now he's going to build that party for me. It just makes you really able to have that thematic playthrough. Come on, and that's what it's all about, right? Another great thing about this is if I come to the campaign map, hit Control P, I can give them orders. What happens when you start your own party? Oh, they go join some other lord's army and they get destroyed and captured over and over again. Well, that sucks. So here, I take that option off. I don't want you giving my troops away to garrisons, and I don't want you besieging stuff. You can raid, most certainly take lord prisoners. They can buy horses. And then look, a fallback order to issue when the party is not in an army and has no current order. Patrol an area, right? Or defend a settlement. They'll sit in the garrison. So if there's like a newly conquered fief and you're just like, I want you to go get a bunch of troops and sit in that garrison unless there's something else to do. Or they can patrol an area. We just talked about giving the ability to hunt down bandit camps and hideouts. These guys will clear an area for you and keep it under patrol. And it feels awesome. So you can run out and do what you got to do and not even have to worry about your territory. Your governor and your parties are going to make sure everything's taken care of like they ought to in service to the Khan. Party AI controls, absolutely essential mod. If you have not played with this, it is just incredible. And I'm not even doing it any justice, but you can just come in here. Also, you can make it auto-create parties. You can manage other garrisons if once you're the king. AI patrols, aggressive patrols, show all set. I mean, there's so many options. And here you manage your garrison, where I used to use improved garrisons, but now I just use this mod. And I've got this Baltican template set where it's 50-50 infantry and archers. And then I just set it on auto recruitment. Limit it if you want. I usually keep them around 1,500 or so, or hell, just put it at 2,000. Unlimited wage if it's one that you're really worried about getting attacked. And just over time, it'll just start filling these guys up and training them up for you. And you're going to have these archers. And here, look, you can highlight. It'll tell you I have 16 marksmen, 10 archers. Here I've got 25 dark hands, but pretty good tier. And it just keeps leveling them up and updating them, but only the troops that you pick. Perfection. This mod is fucking perfection. And it makes playing the game so much fun because you can create these other parties and they actually do what you tell them to do. They build what you tell them to build. And when you call them together, you create that huge, badass thematic army. And that's what Bannerlord's all about. Love this mod so much. And Caravan here is another one. If I ever get my hands on this cat, I'm making love to him because his mods, from governor's handle issues to party AI controls, just make Bannerlord awesome. And the effort and detail he puts into these things, he's just incredible. Just a huge asset to the community. And if you haven't tried party AI controls, your Bannerlord is missing serious shit. I mean, this is an incredible mod. That it's not more downloaded is just a tragedy. So give my guy some endorsements, give him some downloads. Shout out here in the comments. I'm going to leave one here telling him I'm going to love him forever. And it's just, this is an incredible, incredible mod. What you can do with it and how well it works. Perfect. So thank you, Brother Caravan, for another outstanding mod. And last, but most certainly not least, is Weather Indicator. Look, here's the weather indicator. So you're running around into different territory, and it'll tell you what the weather is. And now what's really interesting about this mod and what it does so great is sometimes it's raining on the map, but it actually shows clear and or vice versa. So what this does is this is going to let you know when you start a battle what the weather's going to be in that map. See, there we go. Light rain. So this means that if I start this battle, I'm going to be in the mud. And see, you can see how quick it can change there. This mod is just absolutely essential to really take advantage of the weather. I love this on my Sturgia playthroughs or my Britannia playthroughs. And you can just drag those big ass armies where you're heavily outnumbered up into the snow, especially. It's going to indicate to you that you're in snowy ground. You can always highlight it to tell you. And then you can really strategically use the weather to employ that home field advantage for whatever faction. So if you're a cavalry faction, you're going to want to make sure you're on clear dry land. Fighting a heavy cav faction, pull them into the snow, pull them into the rain. That mud and snow, remember, will slow down cavalry so they can't charge as fast, they can't move as fast, make them a lot more susceptible. And you also remember, if it's actively snowing or raining, it reduces missile damage and accuracy. It's simple, works very well, and adds a ton of strategy to your playthrough. And it also removes the frustration of sometimes the weather on the campaign map not lining up with exactly what's on the battle map. When I throw this mod on, whatever that indicator says, and you can see right here where it shows it's snowing, which this is a pretty clear indication, but it's going to let you know exactly what that weather's going to be like in a battle so you can take advantage of it. And so here's my mod list. And this combination of mods for me allows me to have those thematic narrative playthroughs. It removes a ton of the tedious shit like doing hideouts over and over and quests over and over, but also not being punished for not doing those. It makes your companions feel like more than just stat sticks or captains. These are actual entities that are helping you take care of your kingdom and removing hideouts and taking care of quests for you while you're out being the leader of the faction. And the combination of all these together makes my playthrough very smooth. I don't get worn out doing the same tedious shit over and over. And I'm also not punished for not wanting to do the same tedious shit over and over. And I can get back to doing whatever it is I want to do in the game. So I think it's a beautiful mod combination. If you're looking to check some things out, try this one. Maybe there's one you'd like more than the other, but I think you'll find that this combination right here really enables you to have a lot of fun in Bannerlord. One mod I got to mention as an honorable mention here that it's not in my playlist, but I love is this Service Soldier. It hasn't been updated in a long time. Apparently, the modder put it on Discord or something like that. But I used to love this, and I hope that a similar mod comes out on the Nexus at some point. It gave such a great start where you could just be part of an army and take place of battles, and you'd level up through the ranks and pick. It was just a great mod and really gave you a nice change of pace from just starting out killing looters or whatever as you do most of the time. So I hope this one comes back to us because this was an incredible mod and I love it so much. My only real wish list for Bannerlord right now is that I would like the world to be more dynamic. And the two areas I'd really like to see them address is first off the politics and specifically the internal politics between factions. I just wish that there was more civil war and that there were consequences to fief distribution and things like that. Also, it just the world, the campaign map feels so static without the player's influence. I wish that there were some games you logged in and the Aserite just came pouring out of the south and they were taking over everything. And you were kind of on your heels to hurry up and get an army up and running. Volandi is pouring out, and they tend to a little bit. One of the Empire factions gets rolled very early. As it is right now, there's kind of just this back and forth tug of war that doesn't really do much unless the player is involved. These factions will lose a town or two, but then they'll take them back. It just seems like there's this back and forth that takes place, and you have to play into the very late game for that not to be the case. And I don't think most people play that late into the game. I think most people build up, get a fief or two. I don't think most people are clear on the map. So the game needs to become more dynamic earlier. Another thing I would like them to change is I wish they would come in here and really balance up the troops. I think there's far too much of a difference between the elite troops and the low level troops. I tightened that up a little bit. And then I think the most egregious things that stand out to me are like Fian champions. When it comes to elite troops like this, I think number one, they should be much harder to get. I don't think you should just be able to recruit them. This level of upgrade should only come from being in multiple battles, and it should take a ton of experience from just a regular, whatever the standard troops are. Instead of them having 260 bow skill, look at the difference here. 160 bow skill to 260 bow skill is an insane jump. Maybe take this down to like 200 or something. I don't know about 260. And then also 220 two-handed versus 130. I mean, this level of jump and increase needs to be much more difficult to have. And having an army of these just trivializes everything. So I don't think you should just be able to recruit these guys and level them up quickly. I think to get them to this level should take a lot of combat, and to lose them should hurt. And it should be a damn near impossible to build an army of them. And I think they should further specialize them. So if you're going to be the best bow troop, you shouldn't also be the best two-handed troop. They should get a one-hander or an axe or something, and you get to be that awesome ranged unit, but they should have a distinct weakness. Same with Consguard. If we're going to keep this 260 bow skill and 220 polearm, well, then they need to have a weakness. And I would reduce them down to some leather armor, and I reduce their horse armor down. I mean, if they're going to be this super offensive unit, that's fine, but they shouldn't be as tanky as they are. The way they are right now, they have no weakness, and they're just entirely too easy to get. I would get rid of the noble troop lines. I'd knock down this like crazy outliers where you got 260 bow skill. I mean, here it only has 160. So this should be like 180, 200 tops. And I'd give them some type of weakness. They shouldn't be the best at everything. And if you're determined to leave them that way, then you got to make them a lot harder to get. And what I would do is I would just make them branch off the regular Khazate horse archer. I mean, look here. This horse archer, 130 in bow skill, and the Consguard has 200 something. So I think for a cons guard to occur, you should get these regular horse archers, and they should have to be in battle after battle. And very occasionally, you'll get the opportunity to upgrade a cons guard, and having 10, 15, 20 of them over time. And then maybe you get 30, 40 in a maximum sized army late game, and you keep pushing up the experience by donating weapons and armor. Maybe you can get more that way. But having access to these powerful elite troops in the early game is insane to me. As it stands right now, battles are so spammy because it's just so easy to get recruits. It's so easy to get high tier units, and it doesn't really impact the game to lose units. Further, the player army hardly ever takes casualties like the AI does. And so that needs to be balanced out to make the game harder, I think, especially on Bannerlord difficulty. It's just too easy to get an elite army that doesn't take that many casualties and steamroll. And go into battle, especially in this time period, there should be casualties. So tighten up the skill gaps between the tiers, give units clear strengths and weaknesses, and then make it damn harder to get elite troops. I would like to see some balancing, addressing those issues in the troop trees. And so there's my mod list. I hope it gives you some good ideas. Make sure you support the modders. What they do is just remarkable. We take an outstanding game that is without peer. Bannerlord is an amazing game. Then these modders come in, address some of the issues, and make it even more fun. You got to be very careful because the outside world can just disappear if you make Bannerlord too awesome. So there's a few things I hope they address, but overall, I still think this is one of the best games ever, and I just love making content for it. I hope you enjoy the content that I've been making. I really appreciate the support, and I've got another one I'm cooking up. Should be out soon, so stay tuned, family. BOklahoma out.